So in today's session, we're going to cover what an event message is and what an event is, right? There's a distinct difference between the two. I won't let the cat out of the bag. Let's get straight into it. So the difference between events and event messages is one of the key aspects of event management, and it's a little understood concept, and I'm going to take you through it right now. First, let's go through the vertical swim lanes. We have events on the left, messages on the right. We'll describe that as we go forward. My horizontal swim lanes, I've got actual and I've got planned events at the bottom. Just from a high level perspective, let's go through the 4 quadrants one by one, just so that you can understand what they are. My top left-hand quadrant, where it's an actual event, this is the event that actually occurred. This is the person that executed, when it occurred, executed it, and where they executed it. From a bottom left-hand quadrant perspective, we've got a planned event. This is who should be executing it, where they should be executing it, and at what time they should be executing that particular event. On the right-hand side at the top, we've got an actual message. This is the actual time that I actually received the notification about the event that actually occurred. My bottom right-hand corner, I've got when I'm planning to receive that particular message telling me about the event that actually occurred. All right. So I think already maybe the distinguishing factor between each of them is already clear, but let's take that through a little bit further. On the left-hand side, when we talk about the event, we've got our number 3 there, the event that actually occurred. There's also, if you look at number 1, at the bottom side of it, where the plan, that's my planned window of execution between 1A and 1B. This is when I expect that event to occur, and my event 3 occurred at time 3. It occurred within that time, so it's a good event. If it occurred at time 3A, then it would be an early event. If it occurred at time 3B, it would be a late event, right? The information around that event, number 3, would include the time, the partner, and the location for that particular event. Okay, now that's the actual event that occurred in our real world. But now there's, if you look at the red dotted line going to the right hand side on the message, there's a time delay between when the event occurs and when the system tells me that the event actually occurred, right? This event could be an event that my partner sends, like they need to ship a product, for example. Well, when they ship a product, for example, they need to send me an 856 or a dispatch advice, for example. Now we can give them an hour to get us that dispatch advice, or you can give them 24 hours to give us that. That is the time between the event that occurred and then the message that we're supposed to receive. So number 4. If I look at the bottom part of it, the plan, when we're laying out the process for receiving these events, we need to give our partners, and those could be internal partners for our internal departments or external partners being carriers or vendors and stuff. We need to give them enough time to send us the message telling us about each event that occurs, right? That's the service level agreement that we define for. So if we say they have 24 hours from the time that they execute the event to the time that we receive the message, that is basically that SLA for message receipt. That's that bottom red line, the time between 1B, which is the end of the execution window, to 2B, which is the end of the planned event message window. Key distinction over here, planned event message receipt. So the event message receipt window, right? So we need to give our partners enough time to execute the event, and then enough time for them to actually send me the event, right? So if we get the event at time 4, it's within that planned window of execution for the event message, then we're on time. If we receive the event early, then it's on time. That's okay. You know, earlier we described, for example, if the event message 3A is early, an event being early could be a bad thing, right? The customer could be closed for business, so can't receive the product. But the fact that we receive the event message early, that's okay. right? We can receive an event message early telling us about an event that is late. We can receive a message early telling us the event is on time. And we can receive a message early telling us that the event was in fact early. All right. If we receive the message on time, that's fine. That's 4. If we receive the message late, 4B, that's now a problem, because now we've past the service level agreement. So we're greater than 2B on the diagram over here. So now that's a late message. So now, even if the late message is telling me that my event was on time, right? So you actually shipped the product on time, or you created the invoice on time, that's still a problem, because if I don't get the message on time, my system doesn't know that certain things are happening within my supply chain. So if my system doesn't know, I cannot react to any issues that are actually in that supply chain. So it's critical that we get the messages on time, right? So this whole time between 2A and 2B on my diagram over here is critical. And you should be measuring that, and you should measure and hold your supply chain accountable to making sure that your messages are getting there on time. And it's not just the single focus on events being on time. So make sure that they're shipping on time, make sure that the invoices are created on time, but also that our systems are aligned with those events on time, right? So it's critical that the whole message swim lane is also updated. If I look at number 5 there on the right-hand side, that overdue monitor, this is where the overdue monitor kicks in. Most folks have the overdue monitor looking at event date and time. So if you look at it, it would go late when 1B has expired. And you can see that's far earlier in the chain, right? We need to give them enough time to execute the message before we actually call it late, right? So in other words, the overdue monitor should be configured to run against the late message time and not the late event time. I hope that makes it a lot clearer for you. There's a huge distinction between events and event messages, and you need to take heed of it and leverage the functionality here. Specifically in the EDI space for 856s, this is the functionality that you use to ensure compliance with these, the messaging for the 856, the 810, any of that function, the functionality for inbound messaging from your suppliers. Use this technique to measure their compliance. So now that you understand a little bit more about events and event messages, I hope that you can see that the value that lies within the distinguishing parts of those two pieces of functionality within event management are incredibly valuable. Specifically, as I mentioned, in the EDI space, this is the place where you actually can go measure compliance from your EDI suppliers, your EDI carriers, and so forth. So this is something you need to focus on.